Hey, it's Ron Jackson, and I'm going to give you a little mini lesson for one of my patrons. His name is Reggie, actually, a really great guy. One of my students for the last few years, and he were talking about playing octaves like Wes Montgomery, and the techniques that you use. So I'm just going to do a little brief lesson about using octaves, and you just saw me do a little demo about octaves. The guy that made it famous was this guy right here, Mr. Wes Montgomery, the last of all, my 6-string jazz guitar hero shirt here. And, then George Benson took it to a different level, the guy George right here, okay? So, the techniques I use to play the octaves can be varied. So I'll just show you some different exercises you could actually use to play octaves on the guitar. So you saw me play the octaves mainly across 2 strings like this. So it's like from the 6th to the 4th string. Okay, that's an octave that you can actually use. So I'm using the 3rd fret of the G note on the 6th string to the 5th fret of the G on the 4th string to get that octave. So, it's easier to play these octaves in between these 2 strings. Let's say you play a G major scale. So, what happens is on the 6th string and the 4th string, you only have a 3 fret space, okay? Now, when you get to the 5th string and the 3rd string, it's the same distance, but when you get to the 4th and the 2nd string, you get a 3 fret span, okay? Okay, etc. Now, it's also the same distance on the 3rd string and the 1st string, so it's 3 frets. Okay, it's kind of interesting. It looks like a third away, what we call a 3 fret span. You hear just a little out of tune there. Okay. And the octaves, you can really tell the intonation of a guitar too. So what I usually do is I have my students practice playing the octaves with that kind of fingering. That's the easiest one. I'll show you some other ones. But that's the most common. It's just 1 octave, okay, like this. And playing up scales, for example, like a G major scale, which is a scale that has 1 sharp, which is F sharp. I'm just playing very, very basic seconds, we call them. Just up the scale 1 note at a time. And 2 notes, 1. And then I'm not going like every 3 notes. So I'm going to skip this note, which is G to A, and go to B. Every 3 notes. You could practice the scale like that too. You can practice in so many different ways, these octaves. And then you can make, your eventual goal is actually to play jazz lines with them. Like I was doing in the beginning of this video, just messing around, just playing some 2/5 licks, bebop scales, just approach notes. You can do all kinds of things with octaves. You should be able to do your octaves just like you play your jazz guitar lines. So I'm just showing you basic technique about playing the octaves. So what you saw me playing too in the beginning, that when Wes played, he used his thumb, so you could just go like this and hit across those 2 strings. And the thing that you need to worry about when you're playing octaves, I forgot to mention, is when you play these 2 notes, okay, I'm actually doing a lot of muting with my fretting hand. In Acoustic Guitar Magazine, who I write for, we talk a lot about using your fretting hand if you're left-handed or right-handed, so it doesn't matter which hand, if you're left-handed or right-handed, if I say fretting hand. So with my fretting hand, I do a lot of muting. So when I'm hitting that note, you notice I'm hitting all 6 strings basically. And I learned how to mute from years of practicing and playing. Just being able to play across all the strings and stopping the string with all kinds of different fingers. You know, like I'll stop when I'm playing this between the 5th and the 3rd string. I'm hitting all these notes, but you see how I'm touching the note here on the 6th string, just touching it so it doesn't sound. Everything else, you can kind of hear when I'm playing, because you can hear the strings that I'm hitting that are muted. It's kind of standing out a little bit, but so you have to get used to doing that when you're doing these octaves. And another technique I'm using too is that I'm actually, like I'm using my thumb like Wes Montgomery, so you can actually press down, pluck down, okay, like a pick almost. I heard Wes had a little callus and he could play with like a pick, a guitar pick. Okay, so he used to press, you know, he used to play like a pick, like single notes and everything, I heard. That's what they say. So you could just go, I guess you could do down and up. I usually just go down myself because I'm not like, you know, like a thumb player really. I guess you could do that like a pick, okay? But also, I like to do like with a real pick. I like to use a pick to play the octaves too. So you have to use the same technique, muting the string. See what I'm doing? So I'm using my pick as well. Another technique I like to use when playing octaves too, just with these 3-note spacings, is you know, pick and like my fingers, which is actually hybrid pick. So I'll go like this. I might do that too. I kind of like that sound. I heard George mention doing that sometime. You could do it with your pick too. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing like an octave and a 4th there. Okay, and so and this note is actually a D to a G. Okay, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is an octave and a 5th, and this is an octave. Okay, with the 4th on the bottom. So George Benson likes to do that a lot. I like to do that too a lot. So you see, I kind of mix up all the different kinds of picking depending on how I feel. Pick. See how the sound is different too? It has a much warmer sound when I'm using the skin of my finger. Okay, now I just showed you one way of playing the octave. So in the beginning, you know, Wes used to actually play double octaves. So he would play like the 6th string. I played that at the beginning too. He'll take the 6th string and play, well, you can play that note too, and this note, and play them all together. That's much harder to do for me. And also Wes used to do it so that I'm playing like an octave here, an octave here, and an octave here. And then also, I could actually just do 2 octaves separately. I did that actually earlier. That's really hard to do actually to me. And you know, it's very limited because you can only play the 1st and 6th string. Okay, so another way of playing the octaves I didn't show you, instead of going like, let's say from this C note to this note, you can actually go, so I'm skipping to the 6th string to the 4th string. I can play it like this too. So that's a big jump. And so that's much harder to play octaves like in this interval where you're playing 6th to 3rd string. Remember, the guitar can be played so many different ways with fingering, so I can actually go. Now for me, I've never practiced the octaves this way. It's too hard to play this way. But I know you can play it this way, but I never played it that way. It's hard to play lines. You can do that too on the 5th and 6th and the 2nd string. That's a little easier between see, between the 6th string and the 3rd string, there's 3 frets. Here is a 2 fret span, so that's not that bad between the 5th and the 2nd string. But I don't really play those octaves like that. It's too hard for me. And then when you get to the 1st and the 4th string, you could do that too. So that's another way you can play octaves, okay? So, I mean, that's a basic lesson about octaves. You saw how many different ways I could play the octaves. You can play them between the 6th and the 4th string, you know, this way. Okay, and then you can play them between the, you know, so this is the, again, just to review, the 6th string and the 4th string, and then 5th string and 3rd string, and then the way you play them on the 4th string, the 2nd string is 3 frets apart. So remember, so this is actually 3 frets and 4 frets actually. To me, I'm thinking about steps actually. Okay. So you're using your 1st and 3rd finger, 1st and 3rd, 1st and 4th, 1st and 4th for these strings, and you can play them this way. So this is much harder between 4 strings, okay? So if I played across, much harder. You can do the octaves like this, double octaves. So there's 2 octaves from this note to this note. You can put these notes together. Okay, and then you can just play complete octaves. Remember to learn how to mute and use hybrid picking, or your fingers, your thumb, or your pick, okay? So those are different techniques for playing octaves, okay? And that's just a basic lesson. I'm answering my great student named Reggie's, question about octaves and how to play them and practice them. So you should be able to basically play lines like George Benson and Wes Montgomery used to do, and all the, any great jazz guitar player can do with octaves. So this was a Patreon, patron answer to one of my students, Reggie, who's also a patron and also a private student, a great person, and a great guitar player that's been studying with me for a few years. So if you're interested in getting, I'm going to be writing sheet music for this soon. If you're interested in joining my Patreon, it's at Ron Jackson Music on patreon.com. Patreon.com/Ron Jackson Music. You can also follow me here on YouTube, subscribe. I'm always coming up with these lessons and questions that people answer in real life. And all my videos are unedited. And, if there's anything that you saw that you might think that I could teach you better, just send a comment or just send me, a question at ron@ronjacksonmusic.com. And if you love my shirt, you can pick this up on my website, on my Patreon, actually on my Indiegogo, which I'm running right now. You can just find that on my website. When you go to Ron Jackson Music at ronjacksonmusic.com, okay? And please subscribe to me. Follow me everywhere on social media. I really appreciate you guys. And if you join my Patreon, you can actually get the music for this lesson and other cool lessons and videos and all kinds of cool things on there, private workshops and all kinds of stuff. So please subscribe. Thank you very much. I'm Ron Jackson. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.